Hey everybody, welcome back to Onstage Offstage. I'm your host, George Sapio, and this is episode number 198, February of 2026. John Minigan is an award-winning playwright and a former high school teacher whose work Breaking the Shakespeare Code was recently presented by Gather by the Ghostlight at the Aiken Community Theatre in Aiken, South Carolina, and also at Le Chat Noir in Augusta, Georgia. One of his other works, Out of the Scorpion's Nest, will have just received a reading at the Barley Sheaf Players' annual benefit show, The Refinery, in Lionville, PA. One of the first things, I started to do a little bit of research on you, and I went to your website, and I really, really like the fact that you put on your website, always under construction, me, the plays, the site.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you said me, because you move, you're flexible, you're fluid.
Yeah.
You're not headed for one solid goal. Where have you been and where are you going to go?
Yeah, I think that's I do feel like I'm constantly under construction. I mean, I am a straight white cisgendered male,
Mhm.
European background, and in my life I've managed to find myself in places over and over again where that's the outsider status, the minority, and I've been forced to sort of reassess and think and learn.
Mhm.
I'm the white guy in a multiracial family. I went to a college where almost everybody was Jewish. My wife is from an island which is filled with brown people rather than white people. I did grad school at a women's college. Uh, so that has been one of the most exciting aspects of my life, is that I keep coming into things and running up against things that I don't understand and wasn't raised to understand. And so it's on me to begin. And I think one of the things that motivates my writing, I'm never a believer in write what you know, because I think what I know is pretty boring. And I'm much more interested in what I don't know and don't understand. So I will sort of write to investigate a question and try to figure out a character, a personality, a point of view that is different from mine.
It's interesting. It's almost like historical research. I would
Yeah.
not argue, but I would augment by saying, if you write what you know, it might be boring to you, but it might not be boring to somebody else who's not from your particular background.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true. One of the first girlfriends I had was she wrote short stories and poetry, and she said, I could never put you in a short story. You're not interesting enough. Uh,
Wow.
so I'm not
Woo!
sure writing about myself is going to get me very far. I took that to
Ah,
heart.
I
The
would put
relationship didn't work out, oddly enough. Yeah.
I would put her in a story. Have you ever done that? Have you ever put somebody that you know and possibly may not have gotten along with completely into a story
Hmm.
and used them as the basis for a character?
Yes, absolutely. A piece that I've been sort of shopping around for a long time. It's the play that is the most awarded play I've ever written, and it has never been produced. It's three people in a room, so shouldn't be that hard. Its current title is Out of the Scorpion's Nest,
Right.
uh, and I
Formerly
mean
known
it's
as
based
Queen of
on
Sadness Chance.
exactly right, right.
Yeah.
And it's sort of loosely inspired by situations both my daughter and wife were in
Okay.
as multiracial people in academia. But also, I mean, I named the antagonist of the play Beverly after the town where I grew up, and it was the my attempt to sort of interrogate all of the values and ideals that I grew up with and the people that I grew up with and their attitudes. So,
Yeah. People ask, where do you get your ideas? Uh,
mm,
and yeah, I think I know for me, it's like people I know, places I've been,
yeah,
things
yeah.
that just stick. I don't really think I make stuff up as much as I feed
Hmm.
on the places and people that I know.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
Yeah.
And there's a piece of mine that's currently sort of I did a workshop of it in Virginia over the summer. It's having a reading this week here in Massachusetts, and uh, probably the second most important character in the play is very much modeled on a former student of mine, who I just, she had this sort of chip on her shoulder that
Yeah.
was masking a lot of insecurity, and I just found that a fascinating defense mechanism, and that led me to try to, understand that character more fully.
Yeah, that's the fun part writing these things is getting to understand the character,
Mm-hmm.
you know, making them valid. I mean, at least for me, every character in the play has to be sympathetic somehow, even if they're, and I'm using heavy quotes here, evil.
Yes.
But there's a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually a
Right.
reason
Right.
why. Okay. And if you can't get that across to the audience is not going to understand the complexity of the plot that you are creating because
Right.
you have to foster some kind of a conflict, not only on stage, but within the minds and hearts of the audience. But
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
did this,
Yeah.
but they did this for this reason.
Yes.
And yeah, because life is almost never that simple.
Right, right. And super useful for the actor too. You know, the actor
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
want to just play evil. The actor needs to understand what's the background. And yeah,
Yeah.
why is this villain in the play in the eyes of the actor the good guy, who is trying to accomplish something they feel is really important.
Which leads us to the question who is the good guy, who is the bad guy, and why are they like that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. It's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I encourage theater for good scripts, let's put it this way,
Right.
because it pumps up the complexity of life itself. Things are
Yes.
rarely that simple.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. And the more we teach people that there is under the surface a little bit of understanding, you learn about this, the more you're going to learn about other folks that you're, and
Yes.
the more you'll get through life with a little bit
Absolutely.
more compassion and heart. You mentioned that Out of the Scorpion's Nest, and I'm reading this, it's my most awarded unproduced play.
Yes.
And okay, this hopefully I won't get a little too touchy in here, but
Hmm.
according to this, it won the 2022 Judith Royer Award for Excellence in Playwriting from the Kennedy Center.
Hmm.
Um, Back when it used to be something to yeah,
Something to
admire.
be proud of.
Yes.
In the past.
2022 Louise Wigglesworth Excellence in Playwriting Award, winner of the Landing Theater's 2020 New American Voices Award, and the 2019 Clauder Competition Gold Prize. With this many kudos and awards and pats on the back and validations that your script is marvelous, and I've read it. I love this script.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What the hell's wrong with the theaters out there?
I think that this is a conversation that came up and when I was in Virginia workshopping this newer play, Sarai's Knife, which, the two most important characters are Black or biracial women. Not my demographic at all. Um, and I think it's the danger of writing the things that you're writing to understand a point of view rather than the thing that you know, is you end up as a writer being, I guess I would say, the wrong demographic for the play. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty about, why is this guy writing this thing?
Yeah,
So I think that that's probably a factor. It was slated for production in a theater in California in 2022, and it was mostly cast. It had a director, stage manager, poster was up on the website, and then we got an email that, oh, we're going to postpone the show for a year. Uh, I said, okay, great, we'll postpone it for a year, and then we were all, the director and the stage manager and I were all ghosted by the theater. So production didn't happen. No explanation ever why it didn't come to be. So I don't know.
I would guess the explanation is obvious.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's true. It was my favorite rehearsal. This 10-day process. I was at the Madison New Works Lab in Virginia. Was the day that we talked about that question. Because I had heard ahead of time that the actors were, wondering, like, why is this guy writing this play?
Yeah,
Why is he writing about two characters who are so different from whom he is? And my attitude has always been, because I write to try to understand things and frequently get it wrong, very wrong, um, is that I'm using writing as a tool to think and gain empathy for myself. And I think that every writer has a right to whatever they want. That doesn't mean theaters need to produce those things,
right.
and theaters
Absolutely.
can
Yeah.
look at it and say, like, well, this is not coming out of an honest place. I feel like the play's coming out of an honest place. With the play formerly known as Queen of Sad Mischance in
Mhm.
particular, my process is that I would complete a draft, I would hand it to my wife, and she would read it, and she would hand it back and just shake her head.
Yeah.
And I would go and write another draft. And around draft five or draft six, she said, "You're starting to understand who this person is, who this main character is." So yeah, it's probably it would be easier to write what I know. But again, if I'm not interesting enough to put in a story, then
Not interested in safety, are you?
no, no, not at
Well,
all.
well, you're in a multiracial relationship. You've had multi-ethnic experiences your whole life, as you previously stated.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're writing from a closed-off box somewhere in white land.
Yes,
Okay, I mean,
yeah,
you
that's
and
my
I fit
hope.
the
Yeah,
both fit the same demographics. Okay,
right. Mhm.
we're white cisgender males,
Mhm.
and in the eyes of many of the people that we live with, uh, we are noted for our inability to mix, understand, and assimilate, and then
Mhm.
that puts
Mhm.
us, it makes us a little bit of suspect when we start writing about
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who are not us.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that that suspicion is well grounded, and I sort
Yes.
of write with that knowledge that people will look on this piece with suspicion and may decide not to produce it. But I can't be thinking about that while I'm trying to work through what I'm trying to
Oh
work
no, no.
through. And the
You,
play will just be the play, even if it doesn't make it onto the stage.
you got to write what you got to write.
Yeah, and I think that one of my favorite stories is I have a 10-minute play, A Monogamy of Swans, that is a rom-com for two women set in the public garden in Boston. And I wrote it years ago, before my daughter came out. And there's a short film made of the play, and she said that when she saw the film, she cried. It moved her that I was like thinking about these two characters from the inside and not from the outside. And when I retired from teaching, I said, I'm going to get either a tattoo or I'm going to get a piercing. I'm not sure what I'm going to get. And my daughter said, well, if you get a tattoo, I will pay for it. I will go with you and I will get a tattoo. And the tattoo she got is a line from that play. And it is my favorite publication ever.
That is beautiful. That is so nice. Yeah, I mean, to have one of your lines immortalized like
Yeah.
that, yeah, by someone so near and dear. That's
And it happens
beautiful.
to be the best punchline in the play. So
Well, there you go. Yeah, you were talking about Sarai's knife for a minute.
Hmm.
Let's because that's coming up, right? Staged reading.
Yeah, there's a stage reading this week. Yeah,
That's
they run a
where's
contest up here in
yeah.
Massachusetts.
Okay, we're talking mid-January here. This is mid-January. So by the
Mm,
time this comes up, it's going to be a little bit past that.
yes,
Uh, let's talk about Sarai's knife.
sure.
What's uh, what's the plot? Where's it going up? And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a piece that comes out of my experience as a teacher, and it's based on three racially charged incidents that happened in three schools in Massachusetts, sort of geographically close to one another, one of
Hmm.
which I was teaching in. That sort of all got sort of pulled together. And it's the story of a first year teacher, Sarai, at a public exam entry high school in Boston, loosely modeled on Boston Latin. So a very elite school. And there is a student, a young black woman who is a visual artist, um, and she had been suspended the year before the play takes place for having hair extensions that violated the school dress code, which is something that happened in a charter school
Yeah.
in Massachusetts. And then that student was reinstated, and that's what happens in the play. Um, and the inciting incident of the play is that the headmaster, or assistant headmaster, in order to show that this young woman is really welcome back into the community, takes one of her photographic self-portraits and puts it on display in the lobby of the school. Uh, Someone cuts the face out of that self-portrait. And that act of vandalism um, sort of charges the environment of the school, and this first year teacher is asked to use her rapport with the student to see if the student has ideas about who is out to get her, who may have done this. And it causes that request causes internal friction for the character, but also a lot of external friction with the student and with the assistant headmaster who's asked, etc. What's interesting to me or unusual to me about the play, I, I got to take Paula Vogel's playwriting boot camp workshop
Oh,
during the
nice.
Drama
Yeah.
and Guild conference in 2018, and
Mhm.
she went through one of my big takeaways was, here are Aristotle's six different aspects of theater.
Right.
How do you normally start your plays? Start with a different one. And I said, I'm going to start this play with spectacle, because I've never started to play with spectacle. So the main character, the teacher, is a collage artist, and there are visual and verbal collages throughout the play that were a challenge for me, but also one of the things that made the play really exciting to work on. It may be the reason the play never gets produced, because how do you create these visual collages on stage? But it felt like this is an important part of the storytelling,
Yeah.
using spectacle to investigate the character in the world of the play.
Well, certainly a good stage manager with a little bit of imagination could come up with some way of making this thing work.
Yeah, yeah. And I sort of told myself, like, I'm not going to try to solve this problem myself. Let designers and directors,
Yeah.
let them have a field day and figure out what it is. The opening stage direction says, there are things in the stage directions for this play that are probably impossible. Sorry about that. Do the best you can to visualize this world and make that visualization happen.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same way with you. I like to throw my stuff when it gets done.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
as
another
always.
story.
Yeah.
I like to let the actors and the tech people and the directors and the stage managers use their wisdom, use their experience.
Yeah.
This is what I've thrown on the page. If you
Hmm.
have a question, come to me with that. Other than that, I mean, I had a play years ago that went up. It's one and only play, and I kept hearing from the stage manager, "Yeah, it's going great. It's wonderful. Everything's coming together. The actors love it, and you're going to really love the dream dance at the end." I didn't write a dream dance. What they did was, instead
Wow.
of curtain call, they brought the actors out in pairs and had them act a little
Oh, wow.
comedic something and then run off stage, and somebody else would come on and do that. And it
Huh.
was just it yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. It's
That's
creativity
great.
at its
Wow.
best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a piece that's going up in Boston in May. It's a solo show that was commissioned by a longtime colleague and collaborator and now friend, called Redressing Miss Havisham. And the concept of the play is that Miss Havisham is the spinster, the archetypal spinster that Charles Dickens created in Great Expectations.
Mhm.
The woman who commissioned it is mid-40s and intentionally unpartnered, and also has a background in criminology, so wants to use that background to investigate the cold case death of Miss Havisham in the novel. And I've been working with this director, Peter Sampieri, who is wonderful, because I've got very specific images and stage directions, and he's great at saying, well, we could do that. We can also think about this.
Yeah.
And his insights have opened up the theatricality of the play for me in ways that I never anticipated. So yeah, so working with really creative and talented people teaches you more about the work and makes the work live on stage in ways that, maybe you didn't see when you're sitting at your computer.
It's incredible because it's you look at the way things go in production and on stage,
Mhm.
and like you said, you see things you didn't know you put into the script.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
for me, that's always a joy because on one hand, I feel like, why didn't I see that? That's kind of obvious. And the other hand is I love working with these people because that's the best thing about theater is that it gets
Yes.
done by different people and they see
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
And not only do they teach you about your own work and your own process, but they teach you about life and they teach you about the
Yeah.
people around you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your POV is just one little thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in
And I
the whole.
love I don't know the origin of the quote. I can't remember who originally said this, but the definition of a playwright is a poet who got lonely. And I love that. That's great. Because it is, you're spending all this time with words and rhythms and ideas, and then you get to work with collaborators, ideally, when your
Yeah,
play gets picked. And that's phenomenal. Yeah.
I love it. Theater is collaboration, and that's the best part of it. Besides sitting in a coffee shop and waiting for some epiphany to plop itself onto the page, working with other people because it's a mini family for a period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's part of it. You wrote, but you mentioned this before when the political becomes personal, and I wanted to get
Mhm.
back to this. When a character begins to understand the larger forces at work on them, and they have to devise a strategy to fight back for what they believe is right.
Yeah.
This is like
Yeah.
a hero's journey
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
And when did this start to creep into? Has this always been in your writing? Have you always had this particular plot thrust in mind to make this happen?
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think it's something that one of those things that was working through my subconscious as I was working, and I started to notice that it was a pattern. My friend Audrey Suffley, who's a wonderful playwright, asked the question once, "What happens in every John Minigan play? Like, what happens in every play that you write?"
Yeah.
And one version of that is that maybe I'm obsessed with Ibsen's A Doll's House because it seems like in every place somebody walks away at the end.
Hmm.
That someone decides that what I am losing in this situation is bigger than what I will gain by leaving it. And I can create a separate world that is going to be a better world for myself and for others by walking away. So, and I trace that back, and it's like, well, what are they dealing with? And realize that, oh, it's there's understanding this outside, this is like in my journey, I guess, as a human, is starting with my very narrow upbringing point of view, and then encountering a world that was really, really different, and having to make decisions about, like, do I want to carry those values that I grew up with, or do I want to change them? Um, so I think that personal journey is probably reflected in that recurring situation and theme in my work.
Yeah. Okay. I've I've noticed that a lot of playwrights, and I do this myself, write about the same thing in a sense
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
those are the problems, and these are the things that we find in life most vexing.
Hmm.
And I think it's as much figuring it out for ourselves as it is creating something for other people to visit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I guess that means that maybe I do write what I know. I just write about it uh,
Mm.
in situations and with characters that are not me.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you use characters that are outside of your racial and ethnic background,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Frequently.
I love to write about strong women because strong women to me are the most interesting characters going.
Hmm.
We've seen strong men for like thousands of years, and
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
it bores me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I think I have one full-length play with a male protagonist.
yeah, yeah, and I just find that the problems that the women encounter are so to the bone, or so it's just brings the whole sexist conundrum back into
Hmm.
focus just for a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
and I find questions. What makes you think you can write about women?
Yes. Right.
And I mean, that's about as large as you get. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Leave all the women out of my plays? I don't think so. Okay. Um, and I usually answer that with, and I'm sure your answer would be something similar. My experience has, I've been fortunate enough to have so many strong, intelligent, bold, brave women come into my life and leave a lasting impact
Hmm.
that I can't possibly not write about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel the same way. I mean, starting with my mom, who was a very strong, very sharp, driven woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's yeah, they're just much more interesting,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially the historical ones, because we've never heard about them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just finished a commission from a company called Concert Theater Works, and the charge of the commission was this is a piece about Clara Schumann, who is mostly
Mhm.
known as the wife of Robert Schumann, but who was a composer who gave up composing. She was still, one of the most celebrated concert pianists in Europe in her era, but she stopped composing. And one of her reasons was, well, there's never been a woman composer who, met with any success. Why would it be me?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
yeah, yeah. And then to discover her work and to integrate the pieces, the company exists at the intersection of classical music and theater. So this piece was commissioned for three actors who are also concert pianists. So the music is live and incorporated through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and again, it's this amazing story of this incredible human being who I think she is beginning to have a moment, but
Yeah,
uh,
maybe, but
yeah,
yeah, she needs better PR.
yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a guest on my show a number of years ago, Sylvia Milo, who wrote, produced, and starred in the other Mozart's sister.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And uh, never having seen the show, but read the script and interviewed her on the show. It was just
Mhm.
why have we not heard of this person?
Yeah, yeah.
Because dummy, she's female.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and
I saw
that's
a great piece last summer by Annie Underland, who's another Northeast playwright,
mhm.
Madame Mozart, the Lacrimosa, about uh, Constanza Mozart's journey to get the Requiem to
Yeah.
the world
Mhm.
after Mozart's death. And again, this incredible, incredible opening image of the play. She is dragging Mozart's body into the basement where it's going to be. It's just like she's going to do whatever she needs to do to make sure that the work gets to the world. Yeah,
That's a heck of an opening scene right there.
it really was like jaw
Talk
dropping. Yeah.
about spectacle.
Yes, yes. A great, great play.
Okay, we're going to shift a little bit.
Yep.
Breaking the Shakespeare Code.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Remarkable play.
Oh,
Two-person
thank you.
play. Two-person plays for I think. I mean, obviously not for you, but they're so hard to write because you've got two characters locked in this box on the stage.
Yeah.
And wow, two questions. Let's talk about the play because
Mm-hmm.
Gathered by the Ghostlight is doing it.
Yep.
And oof, how did you keep two people on stage interesting for all that time?
Yeah, that was the challenge of the piece. It was a piece I did not know how to write. And it took me a long time to get a draft. I'd written the opening scene or a version of the opening scene, shorter version of it, and had no idea what to do. Like, is this even a play? Because I feel like I'm right. The origin of that piece was working with a student on a Shakespeare monologue and really hitting the wall, like not making any progress. And then she was also in a production that I was directing. And one day in rehearsal, this is in a high school, we were on a break in rehearsal. So, there's 30 kids in the room and they're having snacks and they're telling jokes and whatever. And she just looked incredibly morose sitting there at the edge of the stage. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she just, everything was wrong. Everything was going. I said, "Okay, start the monologue." And she started the monologue, and the 30 kids in the room went silent and still for the length of the monologue. And at the end, they applauded, they were cheering, they couldn't believe like how amazing that was. And I said, "Man, I wish plays were that good. Like
Yeah,
you could just capture everybody that way." And he said, "Well, why didn't I write a play about that moment when a person connects with something and transforms in front of your eyes?" So I wrote that first scene, didn't know what to do, put it up in a scene sharing event, and somebody said, "What happens next?" And I said, "Well, if this person who I respected a lot wants to know what happens next, I need to figure it out." So I contacted a former student who was running a Shakespeare company and said, "Can you do a reading of my new play sometime this summer?" And he said, "Yeah, 6 weeks from today, we'll do it." So I had 6 weeks to create a draft. And I just set up arbitrary rules. Like there are going to be four scenes. It's going to cover 20 years. And they're going to work on four Shakespeare monologues in the four scenes. The four scenes became three, the 20 years became 16, but that was the setup that got me to think about like, okay, so let's take these two people and move the story forward 6 years. Let's move them forward another 10 years and to see where they are. So then it was imagining like, what are their lives outside of these periods of time? What happens off stage? Um, so yeah, so that was the thing that got me through how to create that 80 minutes with just these two people on stage. And it's been by a huge leap my most successful play. I think that production
yeah,
that just happened in South Carolina, then Georgia from Gathered by the Ghostlight was production number 13. Um, and it's, doesn't escape my notice that it's two people in a room with rehearsal blocks.
yeah.
It's
No, no,
incredibly easy to produce.
that's the best thing you can do. Is it cheap to produce? What do you need? A
Yeah,
couple of blocks? Yes, we'll look at it.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's better than coming in with all these different sets and props and things like that, and it's so heavy.
Yeah.
But
So how I ended up going from that to like, oh, there's a visual collage on stage that moves. It's probably not wise. At least it's only four characters.
every play calls for something different, and it lets you know as you're writing what it needs. Does it need that collage? Yeah, it does, kind of.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but breaking the Shakespeare Code is a back and forth. It's a battle. It really is.
Yeah.
It's there are moments in there that I just cringe looking at
Mm,
because of the boldness, the honesty,
yeah.
the struggle.
Yeah. And it also came, I spent 2 summers at Shakespeare and Company in Western Mass, and a lot of the approach to text and performance in the play is a heightened version of what happens in the actor training program out there.
Right.
The need to find the inner truth that you bring to a text, and therefore make the text come alive because you know exactly the feeling that you're speaking about. Um, so that was behind it. They are less abrasive than Kurt, the teacher,
Mhm.
in the play because it's more abrasive is more interesting. So
Heightened reality.
heightened reality.
That's what you walk into a theater for. You don't go into a theater to see something you see outside the theater.
Right,
You can
right.
see that for free. But yeah, that's do your plays change much during rehearsal?
Yes, yeah, I do. That play has changed a huge amount. It was first developed at Orlando Shakespeare Theatre for 2 years, 2 years in their new play development program. The
Mhm.
first is a reading, the second in a workshop. And then from there, it went to Utah Shakespeare Festival. Lots of changes. By the time it left Utah, it was probably draft 9 or 10. And then and it had a small production in a theater in Salt Lake City after Utah. And then the play was dormant for about 6 years. And somebody asked me for it. And I said, well, let me go back and take a look. And that look was cutting 20 pages in 20 minutes out of the play. It had been a 2 act structure. It went to 80 minutes, no intermission, 3 scenes. Uh, and it just felt like, oh, this is the play that was, I cut away all the parts of the marble that weren't the statue, and was
Yeah.
left with the the leanest possible version of it.
Okay, so let me ask you this because I cut like crazy after I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen a play for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What made you put those 20 pages in the beginning? Why were they there to start with?
Yeah, I think because I was still, it came out of that process of I don't know what this play is going to be. Let me
Ooh,
just go with it. Let me let these characters keep interacting and keep struggling. Uh, and it was still okay. People enjoyed it when it was in Orlando, and when it was in Utah, and it got optioned
yeah.
when it was out there. But I think it just wasn't ready yet. And that for that play in particular, it was also this fear of is this insider baseball? Is this too much about the acting process and the teaching process and that kind of thing? And what I loved in talkbacks from people was uh, people who were not theater people saying, "Oh no, I loved finding out like what goes
Yeah.
on backstage, like how do these people work together." So it was mostly, I think, just let me explore as much as I can because I wasn't even sure there was going to be more than a 10-minute play there. So let me keep going with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it was that long in the first place. It was just my uncertainty about like I hadn't really identified what the core was.
Sure. I tend to think of it as I needed to put all that stuff down to get to the stuff that really mattered.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know, and
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned that non-theater people would comment that they enjoyed watching that sort of thing, and I've seen the same thing myself because
Mm.
to non-theater people, to non-performing artists people, general public, we're a strange breed. We create realities. We make false people state put them into plots. We create dreams. We put them actors. Oh my gosh, we pretend to be other people, and we go through
Yeah.
so many difficult changes. Are you a method actor, a Meisner actor? I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and to them, it's something so strange that
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think when they actually get a chance to see all the nonsense that we put ourselves through,
Yes.
they're just like, this is incredible. Why do they do that? Oh, now I understand.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a jaw-dropping quality of like, oh, that's what happens. Yeah.
We've opened up the rehearsal room door and you get a peek in,
Hmm.
sort of thing. You've been a
Right.
teacher for how many years now?
I taught full time for 35 years, 31 of them teaching theater and English during the daytime and then running an after school program. Um, and I retired from that in 2018, taught a little bit at a conservatory after that, and now I'm teaching very, very part time for Emerson College, but in the role of going in and working with student teachers who are looking to become theater teachers.
How's that working out?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. It's wonderful. It's I don't have to do it every single day.
Yeah.
I will go and observe a class for an hour and then chat and then write up some paperwork. Uh, but it allows me to get back into the classroom, and I get that same charge out of watching teachers discover who they are
Yeah.
that I used to get as a teacher watching actors to discover who they are. Um, that's one of my favorite parts of it is seeing somebody sort of hit their stride.
It's nice watching newer, younger teachers
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
confidence, get the ability to handle a classroom,
right,
because that
right.
is one of the
And did
toughest jobs going. I mean,
yeah,
you're
it
walking
really
into a
is.
room full of, teenagers.
Hmm.
What sane
Hmm.
human does that?
Yeah, yeah. And it's been very interesting. Like I have very little experience on the elementary level, but
Yeah.
sometimes I'm sent into, oh, you're going to watch a second grade drama class. Okay, what's that going to be? And by and large, it is wonderful and heartwarming, and it sort of re-inspires your faith in humanity. Very, very brief story. I was observing a class where the teacher, at the end of this is an inner city Boston school. At the end of the class, based on behavior, she would like pick names out of a hat for a little raffle and give kids like, you get a sticker today. The class was so good, I'm going to do 5 of those today. And she was very good at preparing the students ahead of time.
Mhm.
Not everybody's going to get a sticker. If you don't get one today, it's okay. Try to be happy for those that do. And there was one little boy who didn't get a sticker, and his life was over. Like he went over and
Oh,
sat in a corner, and he was crying. And to watch these second graders get up and go over and put an arm around his shoulder and say, like, I got a sticker, but I don't need it. Do you want my sticker? And I talked to the teacher afterward, and she said, these are all Central American immigrant families. They live in multi-generational households, and there's a culture of care at home that they
mhm.
carry with them into the school. I'm like, this is like, we are in a horrible place as a country, but there is hope. If we just,
Why
if
can't
we
we all
don't,
be like that?
yeah, if we don't
I mean,
stomp on the hope, yeah,
how hard is it to show a little bit of compassion for somebody else, regardless of who they are? I mean, it
yeah,
seems like right now, for the longest time, and I'm going to divert here just for a second.
hmm, yeah, yeah,
uh, in the US, we've been living in such a culture of fear of the strange, of the different, and they're
yeah,
going to take this and they're going to want that, and you need guns to protect this.
hmm,
And the fear has been pounded into us long before Reagan. I mean, this is not something
yeah,
new, okay?
yeah.
Um, why the hell do we put up with something when we've got the capability to teach these children
Yeah, yeah. I
love,
guess my only
compassion, you know?
my remaining scrap of hope is that we're seeing what the end result of all that looks like right now in our streets,
Yeah.
and maybe finally that's enough to I hope. Oh, yeah.
I would hope that as well. But being a history based, I was a history teacher for a little while,
Mm,
and I am a historian by hobby, trade, and
mm,
how little Americans view, read, or have access to history
mm. Yeah,
without it
yeah.
being a stunt.
Right, right.
Okay. Because I think history will teach you more about humanity than psychology ever could. Sorry to all the psychologists in the audience, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's
And I think the focus on STEM education, at the expense of humanities, is disastrous. Um,
yeah, absolutely. One last question for you:
mhm,
why is theater and the humanities so critical? And I'm biasing the question, of course. Why
mhm,
is it so important for grammar school and high school kids?
mhm. Because our culture is increasingly built on isolation and built on, it's you and your phone. And you're connected with all these other people, but it's not real. It's all part of an algorithm that's being fed your way. Um, and theater gets people in a room experiencing something in common and having to deal with it as a group. And I think essentially a community building activity and an empathy building activity. Um, and I remember at one point, I had a student, I used to do this very intensive exercise that comes from Shakespeare and Company called Actor Audience, where it's all about revealing aspects of yourself that you don't feel comfortable revealing, but
Yeah.
decide you will be brave today. Um, and at the end of it, I had a student say to me, you think this is going to make us all friends. It's not. And he said, I don't want to make you all friends. I want you to realize that you can work together with people who aren't your friends, and you can find commonality with people who you don't want to hang out with afterwards and create something and do something together. Um, and I think that that's the essence of what theater is. It's not just about kumbaya. It's about understanding
Yeah.
the uniqueness of everybody, and despite the uniqueness, or maybe because of the uniqueness, uh, the power of working together and the power of doing something together.
Yeah. Making the strange unstrange.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
getting rid of the fear. Theater to me is all about understanding what you don't know.
Yeah,
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 it goes through the hero's journey, which is one person confronting a very complex, difficult, dangerous world, and finding the strength within themselves to reach the other side, whether they succeed completely or even not. Even if they just survive,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
they've learned, and they come out the other end in a place that is so less scary, so less strange, and
Yeah.
much more navigable. Yeah.
And the piece of that you know standard hero journey thing that I always
Yeah.
find really interesting is the meeting with allies. Who was the team that is with you, and the meeting with the goddess, like those two Joseph Campbell
Mm,
things. That
absolutely. Yeah.
there will be people who will go on the journey with you, and there will be a source of inspiration along the way, even especially in the darkest moments.
You are not alone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, which I think is one of the biggest things that people have to deal with now is that they feel very much
very,
alone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
John Minigan, this has been so much fun. I've been looking forward to
Good,
this
good.
conversation for so long with you.
Well, I really appreciate it, George. Yeah, this has been a blast. I often think if I'm being interviewed, like I'm going to be on the spot, but no, this has been a great conversation to have.
Good. I'm really, really glad for that. Good luck with everything coming up. And
Thank you.
please keep writing. Please keep teaching because, yeah, we need that.
Mhm. Thank you so much, George.
Hey kids, thanks for listening to Onstage Offstage. Onstage Offstage is produced monthly, and all of our shows can be found at onstageoffstage.org and also on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and Google Podcasts. If you enjoy what we do, please recommend us to your friends. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at OnOffStage. And if you are a theater artist with an upcoming project or interest, or know of someone in the theater world who'd make good chat, by all means, send us a note at onstageoffstagepodcast@gmail.com. Our theme music is Don't Worry, Be Frappy by the composer Max Dickinson. You can find a lot more of Max's magnificent music on SoundCloud. I'm George Sapio. Thanks once again for listening, and please be kind to those with whom we share this rock. And as always, happy theatering to all of you.